Okay. Should be up and running. Yep. I didn't think I pressed that early enough to actually get that to play the ads. But anyway, okay. So today is a focus on getting PrimeNG in the application, switching out Tailwind, and generally trying to get that to work. So, all I need realistically is the view component running, and the app should, because I'm not going to add things right now. I just need the bare minimum running, and the app should allow me to run it. So the goal will very much be to get the design. I'm not going to try and get. I'm going to completely wipe out the layout. I'm going to try and get the navigation in. I'm going to try and get the general layout of the application in using Prime without actually trying to take an existing layout. So I'm going to end up with ripping all of this out, which is intimidating to say the least. So this should work. If I refresh it, I should get back into planning items and I should have that. Yeah, okay. So let's start the path. Actually, let's stop running that for right this second because I need to do a branch. So I have already prepared an issue for this, T76. So the goal is to add the library, remove Tailwind, update all the controls and components to use PrimeNG or deprecate the functionality. So by the end of this piece, which I don't expect to get done in a stream. If I do, absolute bonus. But if I don't, then that's okay. I'll continue working on it through the weekend as best I can. So that's the first goal. So the first goal is to introduce Prime, get rid of Tailwind, get a layout in there, get some controls in there. Putting PrimeNG will give me the actual ability to have all the controls, so I don't have to spend time doing that. So I expect it to accelerate that side of development a little bit once I get used to using the framework. Then I do want to, before I go any further, I want to make sure that my concept of theming is in place, because then I can demonstrate switching between the different pieces. Even if they don't exist, I can still demonstrate that component, that there will be differences, and I want to choose different color schemes, etc. So I'm not going to buy a theme, a Prime theme right this second, even though it would be kind of smoother to do so, I think, in terms of, just general layout and stuff. I think I could probably manage this piece, and even if I just get the sidebar and don't worry about the top right now, I can worry about the content, then I can move forward. So that's very much the goal today. Later on, once I've got established with Prime, I can probably go and buy the UI kit for Figma, and I can start to plan out my UI a little bit more before I actually go ahead and do it, which will help, because then I can start demonstrating, okay, here's the mock-ups and things like that. But baby steps. So along the way, if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions, as I normally put it, you're more than welcome to join in. Okay, so let's create T76. New branch, feature T76, introduce PrimeNG. Okay. Good afternoon, Rambling Geek. How you doing? Did that not? Oh, there you go. It went. Why the switch? Hi, Fool Schnabel. How are you doing? So Tailwind is nice, right? I do like the design of Tailwind. I like the component. I like the the general design. But the component libraries that are available within Tailwind are not as full featured as I can find. The Flowby is one of them, I think. Pro version, right? But they all kind of follow. Nightlight, thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate it. A similar pattern of being design rather than behavior, right? So that you don't get the JavaScript, you don't get all the behavior with it, right? Tailwind, am I right? So I like the design of Tailwind, but I do not have the time or energy to spend trying to find the right Tailwind combination. I could use Sync Fusion and take their Tailwind theme, but it just doesn't look right with Sync Fusion. So I looked at top UI libraries and, things like this, right? I don't want to have to build, this is my own control, right? I've had to build the behavior here for this, right? Same here, right? To get this drop down, I had to build that behavior. This is a date picker in HTML, that's fine. But I don't want to be doing that. Let's put your UX design teams on the task. Yep, any day now. So if I'm not worrying about having to build these controls and I've got a set of controls that are pretty comprehensive and PrimeNGs are an extensive set, then I can move forward with the UI. Again, all this is proving is that the UI is replaceable without any changes to the back end. But I do want to accelerate my front end development to be able to at least plan out some of these workflows and stuff. And step one is making sure I can build the UI that I envision. This is not it right now. So we'll switch it out. And again, if the worst that happens is I build a different client or I build something different, right? I won't be going to Blazor anytime soon. That will not be on the cards at all. I think I agree with BBB in that respect. Very much so. So let's start that up again, and then we can go over here and start the process. So I think the first step is very much that. And then we need to go, and I think Tailwind is, Tailwind CSS forms, Tailwind, So I need to remove Tailwind CSS from here. Being that that's node modules, I can just rebuild node modules later. So that should be handleable. Manageable? Yes, manageable. I mean manageable. So again, I'm doing this because I need to go through this process, right? I need to go through and identify what my actual workflows are, which pieces I actually need to make up planning. So again, planning is focused on gathering requirements. So I want that workflow, and I just feel that this PrimeNG will give me the best option for building that out. Get started. Okay, so we're going to npm install PrimeNG. ls, npm install PrimeNG. So that's going there. There you go. I thought planning was asking CEO what she felt was most important. Also, the customer that screams the loudest. You're not wrong. But again, it's all about gathering that, right? And that's why I don't want to put this in. This is why I'm separating out the planning aspect of this from the stories distinctly, or specifically so that, you know, those things are gathered and they don't become stories too soon, and we can agree on the right information. But also that CEO can also track it, and ultimately, if you think about it, we could actually do something where we introduce the ability for customers to get notifications on progress of projects, if that's a feature that would be desired. I don't think it would, because it would giving customers insight into internal practices is normally not necessary. We've been in my office. I mean, sadly, Rambling Geek, it's not just your office, right? It's just experience of this over the years is like, it happens. Urgent always trumps every long-term improvement. Yeah. And we don't help ourselves. Often happens because this was a task that previously was an improvement that we never prioritized. Exactly. We don't help ourselves is where I was going there. We just kind of, let's get the next thing done. Let's get the next thing done. Let's get the next thing done. And again, that's what this is intended to try and help with, in that this gives visibility to that. Let's get the next thing done without it actually sitting in a list of work to be done. Right. So it doesn't become a to be done item until it sits there. And then the review date is the nagging reminder that, hey, by the way, you scheduled doing this, and here's your priorities. So the dates overall could be used to identify actual priorities and actual timelines. So yeah, it's very much. Although they've got that . It's very much my effort to try and counter that. Okay, so theme and core styles are the necessary CSS files of the component. Visit the theme section for the complete list of available themes. Styles can be imported as Angular JSON or styles.css file. I prefer doing it here. Then style CSS isn't kind of a tight thing. This is the confusing part for me, the layer concept. The style class of PrimeNG are defined under the PrimeNG CSS layer to be easier to customize by having low specificity. If you're using a CSS library that styles default HTML elements such as Tailwind, Preflight, Bootstrap, Normalize, a custom CSS layer configuration will be necessary for compatibility. So everything is in a PrimeNG layer. Okay. Animations, various components require animations, browser module, browser animations module. I think they're in place already. So if we go to source, app component, no, main bootstraps, app component. I think I know how this works by now. App config. Afternoon, Mr. Jones. How are you doing? Okay. So this will be broken on the floor crying now, right? So watch this. I probably should do that first. We have to start the login page. He says, oh, cannot find module, Tailwind. Uh-oh. Oh, I'll probably import. Cannot find module, Tailwind, CSS forms. There you go. Okay, we don't need that required, do we? Oh, now you got another issue. So, as always, I mean, if you have any input or feedback or thoughts on what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to join in. You know, I'm not doing this out of, well, I'm not doing this out of a sheer desire to want to do this, that's for certain. But, you know, I'm trying to grow my own experience as I move along, you know, and, why didn't that actually, probably didn't compile properly. You know, so I'm happy to take on other people's, I probably want to remove Tailwind config entirely. That's healthier. There we go. So now we reset. Ta-da. As much as I don't want to do it, I think, again, I will focus on a theme, a dark mode, light mode theme. Because this screen will be popping up a lot over time, right? Okay, so let's go landing. We start here. So landing is a 3-step process. We have the step 1, which is the page you're seeing. Then we have step 2 and step 3. These are the next pieces. So all this is still valid code, right? This is all perfect. We've gone back in time to 90s web. Yeah, I don't see what the problem is. I mean, the font looks nice still. And that is because I've got, I think, style CSS. I mean, I import the font overpass. I don't remember setting it anywhere. Okay, let's close some tabs. So, landing component has to have a layout somewhere. What did I do for layout here? Landing app. No, that loads that. That might be the problem. I don't have anything. Oh, and I know why. Now we have the differences, right? Because, of course, because Tailwind isn't there. So the styles that are missing. So Angular NG. Watch this. I'll end up using Tailwind anyway for a layout. Because it just dawned on me that I'm like, hold on. This is why I don't like the client. It's not my my favorite place to be. Theming. So theming is another challenge, right? What do we use? What do we use for layout? Built-in themes. So we're going to go with Lara. I believe, because that's what we chose in our Angular JSON Lara light blue. I think we might start, let's start with a darker mode. Lara dark indigo. No, that's going to make a difference to this, right? Because it's not themed yet. So, do we... No, we don't have to do that. So, it's all very well and good to import a module, right? But now, and these are components, so I can do pcalendar, etc. But input text. So let's just import some of the controls and see what it starts to look like. So a landing component is just our kind of stepper, essentially. Which, by the way, it has a stepper. So I could actually replace this with the right piece, right? They have a stepper. So I could actually do this. And actually that would be possible because they've got NG templates. So I can take, so let's start. Import stepper module, PrimeNG stepper. Then in the markup, we do p stepper. How did that not? Okay, what? I'd be interested to know as well if anyone has experience of using PrimeNG. I'd love to know the experience. P stepper panel header equals. This might not be the right design actually. Now I'm thinking about it because I'm like, sadly I need to get better at WebJS. Me too. It's not easy. The reason I'm saying this might not be the right thing is because I all of a sudden had an epiphany that this is the login page as well as the registration page, so it's not really a stepper in the traditional design. So let's not spend a ton of time wasted on that. Let's kind of move forward with the design as it is. And now I realize that was wrong. Okay, imports because it's standalone. There is a lot to learn, and I think the tools allow us to make it look better than it is at times. I'm silly enough to believe I can do it. It's not silly. It's not silly to believe you can do it at all. Again, if you compare yourself to somebody else, it gets harder, right? So if you look at what I build as software and say, I need to be there, you don't have the time doing that. You don't have the experience doing those pieces in that way. You have different experience. So you'll have your strengths in other places. And you'll build that strength. And it's all discipline. We can do it. We can all do this. We just got to practice that art and get better. It's just how much time can you spend doing that that's the challenge. When you are spread thin because you're building a full stack application, you can't specialize in everything. And that's why I don't think that full stack is something you should aim for if you want to be, excelling, because you're pulling yourself too thin. And in a lot of organizations, you're full stack because the company doesn't want to actually, or can't afford, not necessarily doesn't want to, can't necessarily afford to hire more developers to specialize. If you look at people who really love the front end stuff, they can create some amazing things, but then the back end is thrown together because they're weaker on that aspect. So an ideal team is a combination of all the different components, but I'm full stack capable in so much as I am able to put an application together. It might not look very nice on the front side, on the visual aspect, but it will behave pretty well on the back end. And you just got to spend the time. It's nothing to do with you can't do it. Okay, let's stop messing around with that. Let's go and put some of the more reasonable components in, right? So let's have a look at we got components, we got forms, we got buttons. So we're going to import the button module. So we have a P button. So let's go and replace that. I'm somewhere in between. I can make things work both back end and front end. Neither are pretty. But again, you're growing that skill set, right? And that's why I don't think you can't spread yourself too thin. You've got to chase some specialization at some point. So I spent a lot of my time trying to figure out back-end architecture stuff, right? And it's something I enjoy doing. I love putting things together, like making all the wires come together. You know, it's the same with the electronics and stuff. I do love tinkering with that. I just don't have the time. But I've spent a lot longer building out the application and letting someone else do the front end side of things than I have been doing the front end myself. So it's just where you're more comfortable to spend the focus. But you know, you can be capable of putting together. You can put a page in and get it to capture data and send it to a server. That's good enough, right? And again, it's why this isn't the final version of this, by the way. This definitely isn't the final version. But I do fully intend to find someone and see if I can pay them to do an entire design and then implement that design. That might cost me quite a bit, but I think it would be worth it if I'm going to invest in the product. But I need those pieces to look at least the part for right now so that I can demonstrate to people, oh, this is what it should look like, by the way. Step 1. Okay, so let's get rid of buttons. So we got an app login button. Well, this changes that a little bit. So that's a shared component. Buttons, logging button is now a P button. Right? It's a P button. It's a massive button, but it's a P button. So let's have a look. Label submit. Class P button success. Oh. I wish we could back to a tech where we could actually work fully end to end. Now it seems we need specialists for the lifetime of experience in each layer. Good old rad. I mean, yeah, the technologies have definitely evolved to the point where, you know, we can keep saying full stack. Devolved, yeah. In some respects, absolutely. I kind of agree there. And yeah, we keep reinventing things. There's patterns, there's practices that we follow. Just leave the button alone, it's fine. That we've probably done in the past and we come full cycle on, right? But yeah, for now, I'm going to move this over to the screen so I don't keep flicking back and forth and I can read the docs. If you have any questions, let me know and I'll bring it up. The old core world does wonder why, despite modern tools, it takes so long to do things. I say to them, it's thanks to modern tools. But the things we're doing now do involve a little bit more. If we're building reactive applications, if we're building, like for this application, right, I want notifications. I want to be able to send things out in real time. That takes a lot of moving parts to do. Our expectations of what an application should look like have evolved. And we're not focused. Like when I started developing, I was working on a text-based system, a text-based entry system that would allow people to book holidays, right? It's just a nice 80 by 22 screen, and you would, you know, tab through the fields and enter information and tab through the fields and enter information. It was all text-based entry. There's no mouse at all. And it worked. And the people who used it day in, day out were nice and fast. But it, you know, it also showed its age when we wanted to do more modern things with it. So we ended up hacking in other tools. So from the one company, we needed to do online booking in the early 2000s. So my boss had to create some mechanism of feeding data into a file that would get read by a program that was being run on a schedule. So he was kind of implementing that real-time communication with an actual website, and it was very flaky and not very scalable. So if the website got busy, you were done, right? So those people find clever workarounds and just keep evolving the technologies. But yeah, there's a lot involved with modern app development. Like the front end is its own thing, right? But that's because we've spent a great deal of time focusing on building. Oh, we'll build on the client. No. We'll build on the server. No, we'll build on the client. No, we'll build on the server. And then we get Blazor, and it's like, we'll be everything. You want client? Well, it can be client. You want server? It can be server. You want both? It can be both. Trying to bridge that gap, but it makes it more complicated and more confusing. So we don't help ourselves in a lot of ways. But when it's done right, it can be put together effectively. So, okay, I'm gonna move back to this. So we have input text. Okay, so input doesn't change; it just gets an attribute. I think we might have to scale some things down. Oh no, there we go. So I was zoomed in slightly, but still, that's kind of chunky. Okay. But P password. This is a P password. Ooh. That's a nice add-on feature. Okay. Reactive forms. I can say feedback equals false. For right now, I'm going to do that because I don't want to. That's a worrying one to. You don't recognize that attribute? Parent password. That definitely says I can do that. Oh, hold on. Helps if you do it on the actual password field. That's to prevent the. I think that's to prevent the actual pop-up coming up. As much as I like that feature, I think that's a dangerous feature to have because for right now, because I don't have any measure of what is a password or any indicate strength meter. So we can change the locale. We can do toggle mask equals true. So we can do. There we go. Okay. Okay, we can do P button. Okay. We're getting there. So now we do have the question of layout. Have I jumped the gun by removing Tailwind prematurely? Should I put Tailwind back in for the layout of things and then just use the controls? How does a PrimeNG template work? Watch this, it'll use Tailwind. No, that's not Tailwind. They do have styles. So, components, theming. Icons, templates. Huh, okay. What is this? This looks like Tailwind. Okay, so this is almost exactly what I want. So I'm going to just take it and now let's do Notepad. Okay, so this is Prime blocks, right? Hey, Ian, how are you doing? How's it been? And this is a set of actual blocks that are useful. So this looks like Tailwind, right? Just complete my military service for a month. Not good at the moment. Oh, no. So what? I'm really curious as to what this is in terms of does PrimeNG use Tailwind or Bootstrap? PrimeNG is an agnostic library, so unlike other UI libraries, it does not enforce a certain styling such as material or Bootstrap. In order to achieve this, styling has been separated into two parts and theme. The core resides PrimeNG to implement the structure of the components, such as positioning. Okay, so I probably need Tailwind still. So use Tailwind for the actual layout and yeah, okay. Well, I'm good with that because the app will come back together again. Because I'm seeing a lot of these in the demo. And they'll provide a new unstyled mode so you can still style it. Although that was from 2023 and they still haven't done it. But it works. So we use Tailwind for the layout and the which will make my life a little easier, but then controls will be PrimeNG. And I learn a lesson. So we will need to go back to style CSS and import. How do you do this? There we go. That already looks a little better. Although the buttons have gone back to weird. That's odd. That's interesting. Because the buttons don't have... but they do. They have styling to them. Not terminated. How did it not terminated? Really? You can't comment out a line in between? But then they're not taking on... Oh, this is most confusing. So with Tailwind in there, Tailwind takes control of the styling. But it's overriding, like... Like the behavior's there. I just seen the new JetBrains new ID. Right to side looks cool. Right to side, right to side. Oh yeah, right to side is the Markdown thing for building documentation. I think I have right to side installed. So far, I've just used it for making Markdown documents, but yeah, for making full documentation says, yeah. Okay. So why did that take over? Actually, why is that not themed? Almost everything. Yeah. Yeah. I tinker with things. So there's some instances where I want to, like, I've done some Python stuff to tinker with. I have WebStorm installed for this, right? Golang, Rust Rover, so I can investigate Go and Rust. Again, one of the things I want to do down the line with this application is actually build some modules in other languages to demonstrate how that could be done and interacted with. I just haven't found anything where Rust or Go are particularly good, where .NET is lacking to demonstrate that facility. Okay, so installing, and I apologize for the bright white screen. Actually, while we get this under control, I will minimize that a little bit. I need the styling to show. So installing Tailwind, I don't need Tailwind config because I don't need the styles, right? I don't think I have anything in there that's going to. Yeah, we'll do. Roll back that. Just remove that plugin. Didn't add Tailwind. You need that to build the, I believe. Okay. So the controls are the tailwind controls. Yeah, P input isn't a thing. So that should take on the styling of the theme that I'm choosing. So yeah, they definitely use Tailwind. 3 to 4 months ago, I did object detection with Python for a game. I don't even know Python syntax. Googling was mostly enough. Yeah, Python I've used on the Raspberry Pi for a few projects here and there. It's... I don't want to switch themes on the fly. I want to set the theme. I think I'm becoming more and more language agnostic. I mean, generally, once you get comfortable with development, you're really looking for how you do the techniques more than you are specifically the language. You just get used to the syntax or things like that first, and then you should be able to do what you need. Being good or really effective at the language takes time. So I think that I made the decision years ago to focus my efforts on .NET because it was where my career was going, and I stopped tinkering with PHP and Ruby on the side because they were just distracting me from focusing my energies on one thing. But yeah, once you get to a certain point, the language is something you can pick up, and if you need to specialize, you can do. Just looking at the files of web development scares me. It was a good idea not learning JavaScript and going to C++ instead. Hi, got no skills. How you doing? Welcome in. Yeah, I it's web development stuff is definitely intimidating. We're talking about the how technology has evolved and what it means earlier on. Do Node.js for a while now, not .NET in the company. I miss .NET so much though. I'm most comfortable with Microsoft Tech. Yeah, I do miss .NET. I don't do it professionally right now, which is not something I'm wholly comfortable with. I don't want to create my own theme. I want to select the theme. So getting started, installation. We did this. You can do this. Styles can either be imported at Angular, JSON, or style CSS, right? Let's switch that out because we do use style CSS, and then we've got Tailwind. So let's just switch that out and see if it makes a difference. So we remove these. We go to style CSS, and then we import these. Let's import them after. Oh no, you can't. And let's do dark indigo. That makes a difference, doesn't it? So by default, these boxes are not exactly what I want them to look like. So, and then the problem is now we've got these. This is the Tailwind styling around the outside, and now we've got these controls here, and these aren't padded correctly, which is concerning. But that button's still not styled either. Let's have a look. That's interesting. So the login button has nothing on it other than that class. So let's have a look and see if anything's conflicting. And as always, as I'm doing this, I'm not an expert in the front end. This is not something that I feel I am strongest at. And so I'm always open to thoughts and opinions on what I'm doing. If I'm doing something wrong, if you've experienced something differently with, especially using PrimeNG, if you've used this framework, more than welcome to tell me, oh, by the way, you're not doing this, or you should be doing this. So this is missing the colors. Never used Tailwind. This is being overridden. How do I find that out? Gotta learn what I'm looking at now. So these crossouts mean they're being overridden by other things. And most of its styling is being turned off. Oh, there you go. Style CSS. That would mean Tailwind's doing that. Tailwind's doing that. There you go. That's what the control should look like. So Tailwind is fighting me. So I can have Tailwind, or I can have this, but I can't have both. But they use Tailwind in the example. This is Tailwind, or maybe Bootstrap. Let's copy this in. Let's see if it actually puts that control anywhere near. pchatbots, import chatbots module, import, I'm going to button module. No, you see, that doesn't even style that, but that might be Bootstrap style. So let's now put Tailwind back in and see if that moves that to the middle. Tailwind base. How does one debug so many files and figure out what is making the issue? I honestly lose my mind trying to find errors in a singular file sometimes. I mean, the client side is in general a more confusing place, and I think it's because more stuff is visible than on the back end, right? If I'm working on the back end, right, if I'm working in this side of things, I have an entry point. That entry point starts things up. I have code files that I can navigate through. I have things that I can step through. I don't get all the noise. That noise is hidden in the dependencies, right? All that exists still. There is still all that stuff. Why are you there? You shouldn't be there. Anyway, the noise is there. Hey Apex, how you doing? The stream is okay today. So with the client side, you get all that visible because it can't hide it. It can't compile it or move it out of the way very easily. So there's a lot of configuration needed. And then there's all these different libraries. So the client side is made up of all these different technologies. Great job explanation. Thank you. I try. So yeah, you end up with a big mix. So that's overriding that. Now I think I've got one thing colliding with the other, so that's not going to help me. So what I'm trying to do, Apex, is introduce PrimeNG into my application, and realize that okay, I do need some layout stuff, but if I introduce Tailwind takes control of the components. and doesn't get out of the way. The style classes of PrimeNG are defined under the PrimeNG CSS layer to be easier to customize. Each component can be imported individually. I don't want to watch videos on stream of how to get this configured. That's driving me nuts. I shouldn't have to sit and watch a video. Oh, here we go. Ah, there we go. Layer, tailwind, base, PrimeNG, tailwind. Tailwind includes a reset utility in base called pre-flight. So just for education. Ads are about to start on Twitch, by the way. I do apologize. So I need to find something to relay my messages back into both channels. Tailwind includes a reset utility in base called pre-flight. If you are using this feature, wrap the base and utilities in separate layers and make sure PrimeNG layer comes after the base. But that still takes over the control, the design. That's most frustrating. So I've got the theme is there, but everything else is being overridden. Tailwind, yeah, layer tailwind base is getting rid of my prime stuff, but my prime stuff, let's just see if that orders that differently. No. Tailwind base is, so it doesn't matter if I've got colors set on the buttons because PrimeNG has been overridden by tailwind base. Oh, there you go, layer. It knows what layer it is. So how do I specify the layer? The layer is a standard CSS feature to define cascade layers for a customizable order of precedence. If you need to become more familiar with layers, visit documentation at MDM. PrimeNG wraps the built-in style classes under the PrimeNG cascade layer to make the library styles easy to override. CSS in your app without layer has the highest CSS specificity, so you'll be able to override styles regardless of the location or how strong a class is written. Let's assume you need to remove the rounded corners of the input switch component. Okay. So I guess I'm learning about CSS layers and resets and stuff. So best practices, libraries tailwind. I've taken that. An opinion is that base classes for tailwind projects built on top of normalize. Using tailwind CSS with PrimeNG because I want to use PrimeNG layout. Oh. Okay. So apparently they've been promising a rewrite, and that hasn't happened. Well, that's, I mean, this is from 7 months ago on Reddit, but let's try something else. Import Tailwind CSS base layer Tailwind CSS. Import. That's still not working. That's still taking over, isn't it? Let's see if the style's changed now, just for the point of learning, right? Let's go to, yeah, I can already see it. So it's picking up the layer names, but why does Tailwind take over on that? And why do I not get to do PrimeNG? Right? Like, to me, that seems precedence-wise. Hmm. Do you have Tailwind somewhere else? Well, I want Tailwind because I want the layout, right? So the layout is the useful part. But the problem is I don't get. So the one suggestion is in Tailwind config, core plugins, module exports, core plugins. I do pre-flight false. All right, right. Module exports, core plugins. Is it that doing that? No. Let's restart and see. Because again, the problem here is that Prime doesn't have necessarily the layout pieces that I want. Oh, there we go. So now Tailwind's still taking over where I apply it, but where I don't have Tailwind specific styles, and now I don't get the problem. So let's go back here. So pre-flight false was the answer there. So let's go back and undo some of this, because I kind of like the style better, because that's what they're talking about, this pre-flight thing here. So I've got to learn. Let's see if that still functions. So this knows it's Tailwind. Yeah, okay. The fix seemed to be in Tailwind config to do pre-flight false. And that kind of lines up with the doc I sent, talks about pre-flight and resets. Tailwind CSS includes a reset utility in base called preflight. If you're using this feature, wrap the base and utilities in separate layers and make sure PrimeNG layer. So I'm turning off the reset by saying preflight false, I think. So it doesn't reset styles, it takes what's there. I didn't know making a good login screen could be this hard. Well, the frustrating thing, I don't know, I've done this, I've built this, but I want to build it using a full control suite, and I'm ready to overhaul it. So I'm doing something that I probably don't need to do necessarily, but I think it will be better in the end. Okay, so let's go to, so login button is just a P button, that's fine. Step 1, okay. A form label must be associated with it. Well, that's because, yeah, that's just good practice. Okay, so components. We need to get rid of the tailwind styles off that. And off that. That will make that look a little better. Kind of. Interesting that is. So I think ultimately what I end up doing is I end up using the tailwind for the layout, right? I don't use it for everything else. And then liquid's kind of still there. Okay. So now we want to go for maybe a card or a panel of some form. They do have some layout components, I believe. Overlay, menu, chart, messages, media, drag and drop, miscellaneous. Panels. Overlay panels, not what I want. Panel, card, panel. So panel, right? Header equals. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, silly. But now this is because I'm using the CSS styles of Tailwind inside, right? So in step 1, yeah. I need to take away visual styling aspects. Title, content, header icon. So we can put an icon up there if we want to. So let's get rid of that. We don't need that fluff at the top now because we've got a panel that does it. I'm not too much worried about the font size and stuff. I can worry about the theming and styling later, but the width of this panel's got to be changed. Oh, DoorDash. So I was hungry this morning, so I ordered some breakfast to be delivered at the end of the stream. And the DoorDash sent them the order 45 minutes early. What's that, Ian? I mean, I assume you tried to link there. Okay, so we have the signing. We have Bob B. Smith at. Now this needs to be a real email. I think we're going dark mode, by the way, with the styles. But theming this should be a little simpler now, right? So I should be able to go to here and change this out pretty quickly if I get the actual... Yeah. Oh, that looks nice. I like that style. So if you're ever doing testing and stuff, 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, if you're doing development and stuff, one thing that is useful is I use this developer mail. I don't know if it's very good, but finding something like this, and what it does is it creates a temporary email for you that you can use while you're testing. I'm going to try and use that a lot more because it means that I can still get an email, but I don't have to put my real email there, and I can keep generating new emails for different things. The theme was pretty good so far. Well done. I thought I'd make the email required. Yeah, we got to put we got to put some features in there, right? The warning labels and stuff. We'll go back over in a second. Again, I think getting used to using Tailwind for the layout and getting rid of styles is going to be the challenge. This text is obviously too faded, but again, I could have probably. Yeah, see, I've got this, not this grey, so I have to figure out labels and stuff. So right now, they don't actually have any styles on those warnings, and that's deliberate. More practical, because again, if you spend a lot of time trying to tweak to fine tune the little bits, you can spend a lot of time chasing your tail. That width is bugging me. Panel. Is that because that's set to overflow? Nope. Although that did change that, didn't it? That's not as... Yeah. So if we do class equals width, does that change? Yeah, it does. Okay. Why is that not doing... Stranhorn, thank you very much for 56 months. I don't think you've used that icon in a while. That's appropriate, I suppose. Now I'm worried I'm like muddling through. Oh dear. But which manual do I read? I don't know which manual I read. Because that Tailwind is not doing everything it needs to there, I don't think. So that's width full. Oh, but I know why. I know why. I'm constraining it on the other side, aren't I? Oh, height. That shouldn't constrain it. Because that's not centered either, is it? That's just if I center the screen. That's not everything in there. I thought Tailwind got rid of the need to worry about the cascading parts here, so I haven't used it, so I'm not sure about the correct. I'm conflicted because I'm using the UI library, which has Tailwind stuff coming for it by the looks of it, but I'm trying to combine the two now. So this is the challenging part. So Tailwind for layout. Oh, nice. Step 1. Where did I put? Why is that rendering step 1 out? Ah, I've been on the page the entire time. Okay, let's try this. So Tailwind. Again, I'm going to bring up documentation on the other screen, so I don't keep flicking back and forth because I know that can be extremely frustrating. But if I'm doing something and you have a question, feel free to ask and I'll bring it up. But for right now, I'm not going to just jump back and forward. Box sizing container. Sizing width. Oh, okay. So with auto, we'll change nothing there. Okay. With 1/3. One. I think it's been constrained by something. That's the problem. Let's put the content back in it and see if it makes it grow. No. Okay. But hold on, that is not what I want, though, is it? That's constrained. It's like that's sized down. Flex call with 2/3. Ah. No, that's the inputs. That's fine. These look fine. It's the rest that doesn't look fine. That won't do anything. Put it back to that. Let's see what that does. I think that'll. Oh no. I don't think I could actually get that any wonkier if I tried. Oh, this is just going to challenge me, isn't it? Text. White. Okay, that looks better. That looks nice and bold. E, B. Okay, so item center is not applying there, is it? Border 1. So if in doubt, start whacking lines around things. If it'll let you. Border with 0248. Oh, so border. Okay. So if you just use border, that's border 1. Then you set different widths, individual size, border color. So the problem is I'm not seeing a border. Neat, Bing chat knows me from my GitHub and Twitch account. They also dots me. I search for who is. Yeah. Somebody didn't do it on stream. Yes, this is my primary development computer, so I often worry. I have to try and make sure before stream I go through and shut things down properly, because I can have like Amazon and stuff up. Okay, PX, PY. Let's go. Hold on. Let's remove all that styling. Okay, that isn't the worst. Okay, things have become left aligned. That's good. Okay, so let's worry about the top panel first. Okay, so again, I'm going to move this off temporarily. I feel the actual reason I didn't learn JavaScript was because it essentially forced me to learn both CSS and HTML2. Essentially, would have had to learn 3 languages if I wanted to really do much. Yeah, and I wouldn't say I've learned any of this. I think I kind of muddle through and refuse to accept, like Mr. Ranholm with the resubscription used my RTFM emote. I'm not very good at that because I kind of muddle my way through things and just make them work. I think, again, doing this exercise, it might be frustrating to watch at times, but it's a useful exercise for me to spend some time on because it just forces me to learn a little bit more and get a little better. I think by the end of this application, but I don't think there's an end to this application necessarily, but by the time I've got the working pieces of this application together and it's flowing and I'm building more features, I'll get more competent with this because I'm using it daily. I've tended to avoid it, which has stopped me from growing. But having the focus on the thing also helps, right? So right now I'm focused on this login page and I'm trying to build out that, and then I'll move into the application and I'll try and lay that out. And it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be an experience that I can grow on and I can call on later on. Okay, so let's worry about. I'm just moved it off to the side so I can kind of mess around with it without keeping flicking back and forth, because that's just going to upset people. So we want to do flex items center. Of course, the main issue is avoiding stuff. I once spent 12 hours attempting to learn Python 3 years ago, but once I tried it again in 2024, all it took was a 10-minute video. I really wish I focused. Yeah. And having a reason to do something definitely keeps you focused, right? Yeah, you know, having a purpose, being able to say, okay, well, I need to build this thing, and you know, one thing I do is if I'm building something new, like this application is too big for me not to use my normal skill set, right? It's just too much. But if I'm building something smaller, maybe I pick up a different language. Maybe if I'm building a little program to do something, maybe I pick up Rust or I pick up Go or something like that and see what they can do differently to what I normally do. And it gives me that time and energy to focus. This will be the client side of this application will be the most testing component of it, and it will continue to be, because it's something I want to get. The problem is I've got this mentality of I want to get on the other side of it. I want it to look great, but I want to get on the other side of great. Like, I don't want to do the piece in between, because it's just a lot of time, and I'm not very good at visual design. So get good enough. Hi, keyboard. How you doing? Yeah, I mean, it is hard, but it's it's a balance. You got to do this, and get good at this takes time, and then how does the application in the back end? There's a lot of focus on that. So, and it's not like I can hire people. Okay, so we got that. So how do I? So what I'm looking at is here, the CSS, the Tailwind docs, because I'm going to use the Tailwind for the layout, right? Based on unpaid internship. And I bet I would get people to jump at that. To be honest, I think I would. The challenge with that is I'd have to then watch and mentor. So it takes away time. And I think it would be good. On that topic, actually, I have had a few people ask if I would be willing to let them do stuff. One day, I'm going to let my intrusive thoughts, and I'm going to include the exec equals sudo arm into my forms handle submit function. Oh, hi Yuki, how you doing? Thank you for the follow, by the way. I don't think it's fair to do unpaid. It's not really. I mean, at that point, it's not an internship. It's like, hey, do you want to join me in this and learn something along the way? Actual in a job, full time, a full time thing. Yeah, absolutely unfair. Unpaid is wrong. In the concept I'm thinking of it, it wouldn't be like, hey, here's a job. It'd be here, work with me on this. Oof. I hope I never have to worry about something so savage to do that. I think you should be paid. So to me, I wouldn't. If you're doing work, if you're brought in and you're not really doing anything, you're just being told, hey, go off and write this code. Absolutely, completely wrong. Disagree with that, right? without challenge. If I was to have someone come and join me on working on this project, it would not be with any intent of utilizing them as a developer. It would be, hey, here's some things, here's the direction and stuff we're going in, here's what I'm doing, here's how to do these things, and very much a mentoring, and then allow them to go off and build something without the risk of, or the threat of, you need to get this done because it's an actual job, right? So to me, that a mentorship is much more constructive there. If I had someone straight out of a boot camp and they just needed real experience, unpaid internships actually are mutually beneficial, but some companies use them as slate. Yes. And the problem is using someone to get a job done. That would never be the purpose, right? I think that's wrong. I think if I was running a business, let's say this was a business, right? And I brought in someone and I said, okay, you can work on this unpaid. If they traveled or anything, like if there was like that sort of situation, absolutely unforgivable. But sitting down and mentoring would be the goal. And I'd really only think about that with someone who was in college, like actually doing it. But even then, I actually feel personally that apprenticeship is the right way to go with .NET, with development in general. So paid apprenticeship is paid. So yeah, if there's something to bring to the table, being unpaid is bad. But unfortunately, some companies see unpaid internship as a chance to get free labor, which is yes. I don't care how new you are. You can still bring a lot to the table as a junior developer. Yeah, it's wrong not to pay someone for doing actual work. If you're going to do production code, then you should be paid because you're actually doing work. I wouldn't expect anyone who is coming into this project to necessarily produce something, right? Again, assuming this was a real business. And saying, hey, you got experience out of it is not in lieu of pay. Experience is great, right? But well, experience doesn't pay the bills. No, experience should pay the bills eventually. But it's a future credit. But I believe that internships are a good thing, but I think apprenticeship should be a thing. So I think you should do your first year of school and then do an apprenticeship for the other 3 years. You should do schooling and on job. And that on job should be paid. I mean, I kind of get it. I still haven't got my bachelor's in comp sci, but I can sure as hell write code. I learn technologies in my free time. I know how to code a front end and back end in stacks used by most companies. I know React, Next, Express, Mongo, etc. So it felt like kind of a betrayal for me. Yeah. If you were not paid and they use what you did, then that is not right. But right now, if someone said, hey, we have this grunt work we need done, and in exchange we will teach you this cool LLM stuff and how are you deploying it in prod, I would trade that. But I'm financially secure. I don't need the money. I need the real work experience in some cool stuff. Right. And I think if I had the opportunity to do something similar in terms of cloud stuff, I would trade skills. That would be useful, right? Like a trade of, hey, mutually beneficial. I give you this, you give me that sort of a tit for tat sort of approach. That's okay, but that's the reserve of again, that experience, right? I was convinced to get away with doing this to people who are not financially secure. Yeah. So again, I think what Keyboard Cowboy said is only valid really for people of an experience, because you're trading. To me, it would be like, hey, you teach me cloud stuff, I teach you, how to do some of this engineering stuff, right? Slippery slope, sure. And those companies doing it quick to bring in anything to the table, and their value dries up. You know what? I want to learn LLMs, but I can just pull up the NNO GPT and the GPT-2 research paper written by OpenAI to get a small model working by myself. Yeah, for me, that's an energy. That's a time and energy thing, right? Do I need to use LLMs right now? No. Are they interesting? Absolutely. I can think of some applications for them. I can think of applications for them in this program, in this stack. But the reality is, at this point, I don't have a need, and I've got to focus my energies elsewhere. So I don't want to go spending time diverting and doing things that I find fascinating anymore, because I kind of want to focus on doing the things I can do. That shouldn't be a bad thing, though, right? If the only thing that is a value prop to not pay you, that seems okay to me. Yeah. But yeah, I honestly think apprenticeships are something that should be considered more firmly. And I think I've talked with several Europeans, and I think they kind of move towards a apprenticeship style there, where they actually go and work with the business, and they're paid. But it's part of their schooling. I think that's a healthier thing overall, because again, you get to get the experience, and you get to get paid for doing the things, and you get to yeah. Companies these days are like, AI, we love AI. They don't stop to think, do we need AI? Is it going to be cost effective? Can't we just do X thing by writing a normal program that will cost less to maintain and shorter to get to prod? Americans don't do apprenticeships much, but that real work experience for a discount is awesome. Yeah. No, I was in the British school systems 30 years ago. I went to college, and even then I felt that I would have done better going and actually working with developers throughout that college experience than I would have done sat learning in a room where people didn't know what they were doing. The word AI was mentioned over 200 times in the Google. Yeah. Like, I don't think we're going to get replaced anytime soon. Okay, so I need to. This is quite the discussion today. This is a lot of fun. So if you are new to the stream, I am building a product that I feel is going to help. I am treating it as a product, so I'm building it up on stream, sharing that experience. It's not open source, but it is. But I'm happy to answer questions and show the code and go through things that people are interested in. Is AI going to be like blockchain in a few years, forgotten about? No, I don't think this is a different thing entirely. There's definitely practical uses for it. I think there's terrifying uses for it, but there's a lot of practical thing. Just for not paying people heat. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I get that. I forgot you were a mod rambling geek. I was like, what? What modded? Idiot. Do you have any tips to get over imposter syndrome? I feel like an idiot who doesn't know how to code, seeing people doing leak code and solving problems that will literally put me to my knees. Okay, but who here saw that demo recently? They fed like 10 documents and the AI generated a podcast style that had 2 hours, 2 hosts explaining it. Can you imagine personalizing somebody's podcast? I'm going to come back around that automod user idiot. Yeah, it's here to stay, but it will not be all solving solutions replacing programmers like companies hope. And okay, so on the topic of imposter syndrome, we'll come back to that in 1 second. My car now, with Google, if my wife texts me 3 or 4 messages, it will actually read back a summary of the 3 or 4 messages that it is evaluated through AI. So rather than actually try and just chain them together, it will actually try and make them one cohesive. So if she texts me like 3 things in a row, it will actually try and tell me that. And it actually sends, if I get a text message from like Amazon with a big link to something, it will actually tell me, oh, by the way, your product, Amazon is sending you information about this. It won't actually give me, it used to read out like, hey, HTTPS. Realize that leak code is 99% stuff you will never have to do, and if you're shipping code, you're good, you are worthy. If it helps most developers feel imposter syndrome, the first step to passing it is recognizing you feel it, which you're already there. Definitely a job yet. I'm writing code for school and to learn on my free time. If you can figure out about how to use Google API with OAuth, you're ahead of 85% of programmers. Imposter syndrome doesn't go away. I have been doing this for 25 years, and just yesterday I was just not feeling the best programmer in the world. Doing this on stream, I feel like like I should know more. I feel like I've just managed to just wing it, right? It's okay to feel it. It's not okay to give into it though, and just keep learning and focusing your energies on the things you need to do. Leak code stuff. I don't do that sort of stuff because it's just energy. It's just time and energy I could be doing other things with, right? I want to build this application. I'm going to start doing a bit of game dev on stream because it's kind of fun and it re-energizes me, right? I'm trying to not watch the chat so that I can actually say what I'm thinking as well. But don't panic about it. Don't think that it's going to stop you, right? Just keep growing and learning and building that skill set up. And as Keyboard said, leak code is a lot of stuff you're never going to have to really do. So, focus on actual practical things. I find working on an application that I am passionate about is definitely helping. It guides me and keeps me moving forward. I'm not delved into all of yet since I never need to code a commercially available app, but if there are documentation, it doesn't sound hard at all. The streaming of it helped me able. Yeah, streaming definitely. Streaming is a double-edged sword. Doing what I'm doing, there are days when I don't feel very good. I feel really scared and nervous. And other days where I feel more confident, right? But it does help me be able to talk about it, right? Definitely. The truly passionate people, the ones that do this for fun, you will rise to the top because it's fun for you and not work. The smartest coder I've ever worked with was a civil engineer that just started solving problems with code, and damn, he awes me whenever I see what he builds. Some people just have a natural ability and they're able to do cool things, but not everyone's perfect, right? If you look a little deeper, if you look at some of their code, it might not be perfect. They might have, everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. So, I've long stopped idolizing people as well. There's only one person I very much respect. I'm not going to mention the name. But most of the people I looked up to 10, 15 years ago, I no longer pay attention to because I am me. I'm writing my code, and I'm not going to be a better developer if I keep changing because they've changed their mind on what is good code or whatever. What is something cool? 24 hours ago, I didn't know how to build backend. Now I already got basic backend starting Express with authentication, authorization using JWT, protected routes, error handling. And that's awesome. That's learning, right? That's sleep's good as well. Give your brain time to rest as well. That's a healthy thing to do. And Red Bull is not not a good answer in the long term. A big area that I find when interviewing people is testing. Most people don't really understand unit testing or what testable code means. Very few developers do. And even if they think they do, they don't. Or you can get in a conversation and talk about unit testing, and you realize that everyone has a different interpretation of what unit testing is. We don't need no stinking testing. I do this for fun. I enjoy coding, but I don't enjoy worrying about bills. Always grew up frugal, but it's always in the back of my mind. Yep. Just keep pushing forward and growing. That's all you can do. How do you know your code works? Seriously, though, understanding testing will make you stand out. No, especially if you're doing JavaScript and stuff, I would definitely say learn about testing, unit testing, and integration testing, end-to-end stuff. It is a very valuable skill that a lot of companies lack severely in. And if you're capable of going in and saying, hey, we can add some tests here and we can do this and strengthen the application, you are a standout. The one guy I looked up to at work was so stressed behind the scenes, he dropped dead of a heart attack at 45. Yes. I used to stress a lot. Now, I turn off the computer at the end of the workday. I don't stress about work. It's not healthy. And I'm coming up at that 45. My dad had already had a heart attack by the time he was 50. So it is something that weighs back in the back of my mind about stressing. So stress will not help you. What do you all qualify as testing? Writing a unit test file for your code or good console? No, testing, not console logs. Del Mundo, hello, by the way. This is same for creators, artists, or filmmakers, etc. too. If you pay attention so much, any person, you'll copy him without that. Yes. Yeah. Be your own person. Write your own code. And it's one of the things I say I have said on the stream, right? I write this code, right? If you come in here and you think, "Ooh, I don't like the way you're doing that. I don't like the way you're naming that," you can tell me that. I don't mind. As long as you're willing to accept my perspective of, okay, but I'm comfortable using it, right? I can learn, I can grow, and I should never stop learning and growing. It doesn't matter if I've been doing this 2 years, 25 years, right? I should still be growing. So for me, I don't have any client-side unit tests, which again is why the skill set is lacking for me. For me, I have unit tests on the server side where I'm testing the actual code, right? Testing is repeatable tests, not console log or manual in-app testing. Honestly, I'm lucky the old language I use either works or doesn't. Doesn't catch errors, it just explodes. So testing is kind of important, but not critical. As in line X amount of use cases, edge cases. So again, for the server side of this, right? My unit testing style, a bit different. But when planning item is produced from a ticket, right? So this is concerning a planning item being created. It's when it's created from a ticket. I expect that the title is set, the review date is set, the description. I'm validating that given an action, it did a thing and changed the data in a specific way. And I kind of mock up those things. So as you're building code, if you can, especially as you are earlier in your path, right? If you can learn how to do this sort of stuff, not necessarily .NET, but even in JavaScript and stuff, writing unit tests. So testing a single piece of code. And some of that comes with a little bit of experience as well, because you've got to learn how to separate your code, right? Because if you, when you're learning, you tend to just bundle all the code into single files, and you don't think about that separation of concerns and all the other things that come with a little bit of with time. So it might be a little harder to do, but it is a useful skill to learn. It should be for everything, because otherwise, how can you know it works? Yeah, it should be. You should be working on coverage, but yeah. Oh, I removed some of the channel rewards. I was rethinking channel rewards the other day, and I just turned them off right this second. I have no idea what the right use, because I was thinking about you using it that way. I was thinking about putting that back. I think the thing that severely limits me is the lack of experience. I'm so busy with school and non-tech job that I've never had the time. But I'll be getting 2 months of free time during July to August that I'm going to use the hell out of learn to code properly. Best practices, version control. So I am not. So I have been a professional .NET developer for most of my career. But of the last 2 years, I haven't been. I've been doing PHP. So this is my personal time, right? But I only get about 2 hours a day because I don't have any other free time other than this first 2 hours of my day before work. So I want to learn, I want to grow, right? But I don't have much time to do it in. So, so far on stream, I've learned, we've learned how to re-architect. I would say who PHP. This is an unusually chatty stream, which is awesome, by the way. I fully embrace having a good talk about software. Right? This is exactly what the stream is meant to be. Yeah, I've learned more about architecture on stream. I've learned more about using some of the tools. I've learned about things like test containers on stream. I will learn more about testing libraries and stuff, right? Because that is, what I'm doing. But I only get 2 hours a day, but I still make it work. So even if you could take an hour a day to learn something, there's a streamer I try and watch every now and then. I think it's LJ. He does game dev, but some days he only gets 1 hour. He jumps on stream and he works on his game for an hour, and that's it. So he dedicates himself to 1 hour minimum per day of doing something on his game, even if it's like making a model or tweaking a model. He does his hour, and then I make fun of PHP. Dang, it runs the world. Look at WordPress. Take a look at WordPress. Look at their latest version. They're moving away from PHP for most of their application stack. Like, it's still backend PHP, but it's actually a lot more client-side library stuff that is not PHP anymore, whereas it used to be very integrated. I learned C++ on a mainframe. We had to telnet in, write our code in a text editor and execute it and turn it in. We had to copy the file to the teacher's directory. Let's say, my God, I can look back on code I wrote last month and say it sucked, because it's just, that's reflection, that's learning, that's growth, that's taking a look and thinking, what mindset was I in? When I began development, right, I was working in a basic system running on a Unix box. So I was essentially SSH'd into a Unix box, writing basic code in a text editor, and that was it. Thanks for the solid stream. I have to leave for work. Apex, thank you very much. We'll have to talk about redeems. I really want to put some that are useful back into the stream. But yeah, have a great day at work. I'm about to finish it up because my breakfast just arrived by the sounds of the dogs. I'm embarrassed by most of my code, but it's still in production 20 years later. I'm not embarrassed by any of my code, right? Have I written code that isn't great sometimes? Absolutely. Do I miss things? Absolutely. It's okay to do that. But I think that's also experience, right? You get to look back and say, oh, I shouldn't have done it that way. You shouldn't have done it that way because you've experienced different things in the interim. So now you know you're better than you were then. Looking back and saying, wow, I'm perfect. That would be impossible. That would be impressive to be able to do. Yeah. But yeah, it's software development is challenging. It's a constant roller coaster. Again, Imposter syndrome challenges me a lot. But it's something I can grow. I can improve at. Okay. So, unfortunately for me, it is time to finish the stream for today. I want to say thank you. Thank you for the chat. Thank you for everyone hanging out. This has been a lot of fun. I really wish I didn't have to end the stream because I want to figure this out. This is going to bug me all day now. To the point where if I get this working, I may over the weekend start a stream up and demonstrate the actual workflow a little better. If there's any questions, if anyone wants to talk about software, if you have any projects you want to demonstrate or have feedback on, there is a Discord. You're more than welcome to join. Feel free. The link is in the panels below on Twitch and on YouTube. If you want to talk about this stuff off stream, it's all good stuff to talk about and very productive. And we all grow, we all learn. So I'm going to take us over to Andreas again. He's working on looks like some plugin development today. So let's go over say hi to Andreas. I'll be back on Monday. I'm going to do something different on Monday. I'm going to do some Godot development. I'm going to work on a little shoot 'em up game I started on my birthday stream the other week. It's just to freshen the palette a little bit. Water Drink Water is still a project that I will commit to doing, and we'll talk about and do PRs and stuff on. I just don't want to do too much development on that because then it's not productive if people aren't engaged with it. So I'll point people at that. And do some game development on Mondays and Tuesdays for a little while and see how that goes, because that's a whole different way of programming I've learned. And so again, thank you for joining me. Take care, have a great weekend, and I'll see you again hopefully next week. Take care all. Bye.